Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda, and I have some friends on YouTube, and they recommended books for me. Okay, so here's how this is going to go. I had 5 of my BookTube friends recommend a book for me to read. And for 4 of them, they sent just a separate video. And then for Stacey, which you'll see in a minute with Stacey and her husband Jake, they both are YouTubers. I have a little side project going with them where they each recommended 3 books to me, and I'm reading those 6 books, and then we're going to see who wins. But while I had them on the thing, while I was recording with them, I had Stacey tell me her runner-up book for that thing, and then I used that as my recommendation for the 5 friends that I needed recommendations from. So first, we're going to watch that part of Jake and Stacey's video where Stacey recommends the book for me, understanding that this was one that she decided not to recommend in the 3-book competition. She decided that maybe I wouldn't like it as much, and so she didn't recommend it for that. So she recommended it lightly. So that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to show you that video of me talking to them, and then I will tell you what I thought about the book. I do want to know what your backup was, Stacey, because you had one picked and then you changed your mind.
So my backup is up here. It's Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. And
Oh.
I knew that you had read and enjoyed Dark Lovers, the first one. Black
Oh,
Dagger.
yeah, the Black Dagger Brotherhood.
So I figured you liked some paranormal romance. And I was also noticing that we aligned a lot on our ratings for romance. So I was tempted to pick one. But then when you said you had DNF'd other books because of like grooming, I was like, oh shoot, because it's told in 2 timelines, one where she's younger and she's still a teenager, and he's there as kind of like her emotional support, and they're like friends, but like she really likes him and is going after him, and he kind of likes her, but they're not doing anything about it. And then in the more present day timeline, that like she's of age and they get together finally. But I couldn't remember like if there was anything in there or if you might perceive anything in there as like grooming. And I was like, that's a risk now.
So Rhapsodic is the one that Stacey recommended, and you heard why she thought that and what her issues or what she thought my issues might be with it. And so I think I went into it kind of trying to not have that expectation, like trying to not think about it being a huge age gap I mean, you run into these huge age gaps anytime it's paranormal because almost always somebody is an immortal, whether it's a god or a vampire or whatever, and then somebody else is just a human. So you're going to have the age differences anyway. But I liked that we met these people in Rhapsodic. We met them, or we met her as an adult. And so when she was going back and thinking about what it was like as a child, not a child, like a teenager and a college age person, and her relationship with him and how that was growing. And Stacey's right. Like at the beginning, they literally are friends. And this thing happens here where you owe a favor to this god. And every time you have a favor or you request a favor, you get a tattoo placed somewhere on your body. And we learn later that, well, okay, that might be a spoiler. I don't want to give that away. But anyway, so our girl is completely covered in tattoos, in these marks from this guy. And the reason that, oh, also, what they mean is he can also call it back anytime he wants to, and she has to do whatever he says. And that, more than the grooming possibility, that was the issue that I had with the book, is because he would want to find out how she feels about him, right? Like everybody does in a relationship. And he would ask her, like, what are your feelings for me? But then he would ask her as a compulsion for one of the tattoo things. And so she had to tell the truth. Like literally, she would die if she does not tell whatever it is, say whatever it is, do whatever it is that he's asking her to do. And so I felt like the power dynamic between the two of them was very unbalanced. And it was completely unfair that he was able to use that and would use that on her to see what she felt instead of just asking her and also never reciprocating with his feelings back to her. So that was my main issue with the book, and the reason that it got 3.5 stars. I was leaning towards a 4, and then I just couldn't. There was too much of that, the power dynamic issue, and I was like, "I'm gonna have to go 3.5." So, that is ultimately what I landed on for Rhapsodic, but I'm really glad that I gave it a shot. I'm glad that I got a different kind of romance than I usually read, and it was really good. So, the next 4 sent me videos, privately, separately, whatever, and so I have them explaining the book and telling you about it. So we are gonna kick it off with Martine.
Hello human, it's just Martine, and today I'm here to recommend you a book. In particular, I'm here to recommend you The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane, which I noticed is on your want to read shelf. And let me tell you, you do want to read this. I read this book a couple years ago. Is that when it came out? During my first year of grad school. And here's how you know I thought it was a good book. I listened to the audiobook and I still loved it. Usually audiobooks take away some enjoyment for me, but not in this case. I loved this book so much. So I hope you enjoy it too, and good luck.
Okay, The Charm Offensive. It is part of a series, as I have discovered, and I want to continue with the series. I gave this 4.5 stars. I thought it was so good. I love that Martine said that the audio was still good because she never listens to audio. And I listen to audio almost exclusively, but I, of course, thought it was great. We have Dev, who works for a production company or works for a studio, and their TV show is called Ever After, and it is like The Bachelor. So his job predominantly has always been to help the ladies that are being let go and chosen and all that stuff. And he's just supposed to help them feel more comfortable on camera, to kind of give them pep talks and get them just feeling good about themselves and ready to be on camera. And that has always been his job. So he shows up this season, has recently broken up with his boyfriend, who also works at the Ever After TV show. And he shows up and they say, "Oh, you're not going to be with the women this time. We need you to help Charlie." And Charlie is the guy who has been chosen to be the bachelor this time. And he's doing it for all the wrong reasons. Dev is here because Dev actually believes in fairy tales, in happy endings, in Ever After. And so he's there for that reason. And he really puts everything into this because he feels like he's helping people find their soulmate. And then we have Charlie, who's actually on the show for all the wrong reasons. He's there for publicity stuff and to fix his reputation and all those kinds of things. And then in the background, he has so many issues that are going on and mental health things that are happening. And he's incredibly introverted, never been on camera. And so they're like, "Dev, you've got to work your magic on Charlie, make him feel comfortable, get him out here. Let's do this." And so Dev and Charlie hang out, and it's just about the two of them and the show, and everything else is going on around them. I loved it. I thought it was so great, and I will definitely be continuing in this series. So thank you, Martine. I loved your pick. Now let's see what Bailey picked for me.
Hello, Amanda and friends. My name's Bailey, and I'm so excited that Amanda asked me to recommend her a book. What I think is so fun is Amanda and I have just become really close probably in the last year or so. We've kind of circled the same circles for a little while, but we've become fairly close in this last year here, and so I don't think she knows some of the books that I like redundantly recommend people. So I got the opportunity to pick one of those books and recommend it to her today. So I did peruse through Amanda's Goodreads and her TBR and kind of looked at some books that I had rated 5 stars that she hadn't read yet. And as I got to the bottom of comparing that, I saw that on her TBR is Unwind by Neal Shusterman. This is like my all-time favorite book, my favorite series. I'm just in general a big Neal Shusterman fan. I definitely have read books by him that I didn't love, but like this series, the Scythe series, like a lot of his YA sci-fi dystopian type stuff I really super love. So I am recommending Unwind. I hope, Amanda, that you love it and enjoy it, and I do think this discusses such interesting topics. It is a YA dystopian series that follows 3 main characters, and in this world, essentially, parents, I think when, it's been a while since I reread it, but I think when kids turn, it's like 12 or 14, their parents can choose to have them unwound. And what that means is that every single part of their body is taken and used, basically like for organ donation. And so you're essentially still alive because every part of you is used, but that's the concept of the book. The 3 characters we are following are set to be unwound, and it's kind of their journey, as well as I do think just like the politics in this book are so interesting. So once again, that is my recommendation. Thank you again, Amanda, for asking me to do this. I hope this is a win for you, and bye.
Okay, I have 2 things to confess about this. Number 1, Bailey, this book was a win for me. I gave it 4.5 stars. And number 2, I had already read it. I didn't even realize that I had read it. Like, I read the premise of it out loud to the people around me. I was like, y'all, I'm about to read this book, and here's what it's about. And I like told my workers that, and I kept thinking, wow, I remember wanting to read this book before. Like, it all sounded familiar to me. And I thought it's because I had read the synopsis and heard somebody talk about it and was like, yeah, I want to read that. Never fully remembering that I was the one who had read this book. So I reread it. And it was just as good. And there were things that I didn't remember from the first time through. So what Bailey said, the thing that she was talking about when she said the politics in this book are very interesting is because we have 3 characters, 3 people that she's talking about that are set to be unwound. And we find out kind of how they live their lives and how they all come together. But here's the deal about these 3 individuals. One of them is just a boy being raised in a normal family, as normal as it can be. Also, what is not covered is at some point in the history of the United States, abortion has been completely banned. Apparently, there was another civil war that was fought pretty much over the idea of abortion, and the powers that be had come to the conclusion that someone can be unwound as a teenager, and then all their body parts are being used. They're not being killed. So they're just being unwound. And so abortion is okay because abortion is not happening. So the babies are all still being born no matter what. And there's this whole thing called storking, which I find to be fascinating as well. And that you'll have to read the book to find out about that. But we just have our first boy who is just like a normal kid in a family, but he's not doing great. Like, he's not been attending school regularly. His grades are not good. And he finds out that his parents have secretly decided to unwind him. So the parents have a really long time to decide. And up until the kids are 18 years old, they have the chance to do it. And he's almost reaching that age. So he's getting older, and he finds out that his parents were secretly going to have him unwound, and he leaves. Then we have a girl who is living in an orphanage situation, some kind of house without parents, and they are having budget issues. So because of the budget cuts that need to happen in the orphanage house that she's in, she has been picked for unwinding to save money and not have as many mouths to feed, is what's going on with her. So she doesn't exactly run away, but there is a situation where she is caught in the running awayness of the other boy and decides to go. Then we have our last boy, and he is the 10th child in an extremely religious family. So from the moment he has been born, his whole family and him, he knows that he is the tithe that family is going to make. Their 10th child, if you don't know anything about Christian religions, there is a 10% tithe that is supposed to be paid or donated. I don't know, but it's 10%. So the 10th child is 1 out of 10 children. That is 10% of their children. They are tithing. So he, on the other hand, as opposed to the other 2, he knows what's coming. He has been expecting it his entire life. He's actually like prepared, mentally prepared Like, he feels like, "Okay, this is what I am doing." And then he is almost kind of kidnapped by the others, not on purpose, but it just ends up being that way where they're all now running. And we find out what happens and we follow them along on their journey and we see where everybody ends up at the end. It is such a good book. I mean, such a good book, such a good look at the humanity in general and the links that people will go to justify doing things that they want to do, and the selfishness of people, but also the generosity of people. Like, this book was so incredibly good, even though I had already read it. It was so good to read it again. Okay, so now we're going to see the book that Paige picked for me.
Hi Amanda, thank you for asking me to recommend your book. I am so excited. So I went onto your Goodreads and Storygraph to double check if you have read this, and I don't think you have. So fingers crossed that you love this as much as I do, because the book I'm going to be recommending is The Library of the Unwritten by AJ Hackworth. I think that this is just something you're really going to enjoy. It is a fantasy. This is the first in the Hell's Library series and I absolutely adore this. What Ash and I bonded over when we first met, and I just love recommending this to readers because I think that you fall in love with the characters, and the story of these unwritten books in a library is just such a fascinating introduction, and it just grows from here. I'm very excited. I apologize, I know you're doing your 50 before 50, so I'm throwing a spanner in the works. I couldn't be nice and pick one of those. But it is just a trilogy and I've loved every book, so I hope that you get as much love from it as I did. Enjoy.
Okay, I gave this one a 4-star. I really, really liked it. I talked to the people that I work with at the library all about it. So she kind of hinted about what it's about. But The Library of the Unwritten, Hell's Library is the series. And it is a library that's in hell. And the books that are in there are books that people on Earth never wrote. So the story ideas that you've had that you want to write into a book, but you've never done it, they are in the library in hell. And sometimes the characters come out of the books and cause mayhem in one way or another. It was just so good. The characters that work in the library, the people who work in the library, the people who are in other parts of hell who are helping when things go awry in the library. It's so good. And I cannot wait to continue on in this series. And yes, a lot of y'all have made me start new series that are not part of my 50 before 50. And I'm just going to be okay with that. So thank you, Paige. You picked a really good one. And then finally, for the last one, we are going to my friend Amy, and she picked a book for me.
Hi Amanda, I'm super excited that you asked me to recommend a book for you. We have a lot of similar taste. We definitely read a lot of the same books. Well, you read a lot more than I do, so you read all the books, and I read some books that are similar to the ones that you read. And that made it a little difficult to find a book that I wanted to recommend for you, because I was like, ooh, what about this book? Oh, she's already read it. Ooh, what about that book? Oh, she's already read it. I was also trying to find a standalone for you because I know you're working on completing series, and I know that you start a lot of series just like I do, and I was like, oh, maybe I should give her a standalone. But then I saw some of the series that you hadn't read yet, and I was like, oh. Maybe I need to make her read those ones. And so I'm sort of wavering in my mind. Even now, I'm still trying to waver between two series that I would like you to start. One I have read almost all the way through though, so that's the one I'm going to pick. It is one of my favorite series that I have read so far, and that is Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. And I'm picking this for you because the next book has just come out. The Blackbird Oracle has just come out, and I'm just so excited. I'm planning on reading that very, very soon. But I absolutely love Discovery of Witches, especially the first book. I mean, I loved all the books in this series, except maybe the later book, Times Convert. I liked it. I just didn't love it as much as the first 3 books in the series, the main books in the series. And I think you will really enjoy this. I really do think you'll really enjoy this. It was so fun to read. It was so interesting. The amount, I know you're not a historical girly, but the amount of historical information that is sort of like added into this, but also it's very fantastical. It's a really fun fantasy. It's a very interesting fantasy with so many little parts and pieces to it. I'm hoping you'll enjoy it as much as I did. I'm really hoping you'll enjoy it. I think that you will be drawn in by the characters, and I think that all the things that happen in this will intrigue you. I believe that. I hope that's true. I hope I'm right. I really just want to make other people read the series because I loved it so much. I really did. And I know not everybody loves it, but you know what? I think you might be able to. I think you might love this one. All right, so good luck. And it's a bit of a longer one, and it's starting a new series, but I think it's going to be worth it. Fingers crossed you like it.
Well, I loved it. I'm giving it 4 stars. I probably would have gone higher, but like she said, it's a long one. And there were moments in this book where I was like, please just move. Like something move forward in the plot at this point. And other than that, though, oh, this was so good. So one of the things that I loved about it, it starts out, this woman is doing research in a library and she's requesting all these books. It's a little fancy library where you say, I would like to research stuff about this, and you look up all the books that the library has, and then you make a list, and you're like, I would like these books. And there was a book on there that she just requested because it was part of this study that she's doing. She didn't know that it was a magical book. And something happened, and it kind of activates all of these other supernatural entities who have been waiting and watching for this particular thing to happen or start or be found. Nobody knew where it was exactly. And so she is immediately thrown into this world that she knows almost nothing about. She knows that she comes from a family of witches, but her parents have been killed or her parents are dead, and she lives with her aunt. And so she doesn't know any of the rest of it because she doesn't want to. She wants to be an academic. She wants to do her own thing, professor at a college, not have anything to do with the supernatural world. And yet this book came to her when it wouldn't go to anyone else. So that is a very interesting way to just like kick this thing off. And then, like Amy said, there's so many little plots and intrigues that are happening, and you never are for sure who's on what side and where everybody fits in. But I am not pleased that I have another series to read, but at least it was a really good book. So now I'm really excited about reading more in this series. So my friends did a really good job. My lowest rating was a 3.5, and I had 2 that were 4.5. Like, this was really fantastic. I appreciate you all so much for taking the time to go look through my Goodreads, to think about the kind of books that I like and the things that maybe I don't like, and then offer some of your favorites. I loved it. I liked getting to know your taste and your reading preferences a little bit more as I was finding new things to read and love. And other than it taking me a few months to get all of these read, and now I get to mark this off of my Herked and the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do and move on to something else. If anybody in the comments has a book that you would like to recommend because I liked these, I would love to hear about it. If you've read any of these 5 books, you can go down there and tell the person that you read it, that you loved it. I'm linking everyone's channel below. Please go and follow them and say hi and let them know your favorite books. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.